Counter-Strike players have never been accused of being rational. There's no better proof of that than the CS Reddit. I thought I'd take a look and show you guys some of the hottest takes speed over there and pick them apart for y'all. Let's start off with a mild one. This user asks, why is molly damage kickable, and says you can't make mistakes. Well, yes, the entire point of the game is to make less mistakes than your opponent. If you're messing up your grenade throws bad enough that you kill multiple teammates, you should probably hop off and practice on an offline server. Valve won't remove team damage with grenades, as it will make mollies extremely OP. Just think, players could molly a site or choke point, preventing enemy movement, then have teammates freely walk through them, either to get into a better position or to kill the trapped enemies. And Valve obviously won't remove kicking team killers, or the game would devolve into a toxic mess. This is a bad take. This next user says we shouldn't have manual bans, only anti-cheat bans. He says we would have had ROPS, Zywoo, and Flusha banned, and we shouldn't be banning players without it being 100%. He lastly states that even prominent figures in the media like Richard Lewis were making accusations. Well, I disagree. Never mind its effectiveness, but are we forgetting what Overwatch was? What he's describing is removing the ability to catch closet cheaters in a game that has a terrible anti-cheat that regularly fails to catch even the most blatant hacks. And we would still have ROPS, Zywoo, and Flusha. Why? Because they weren't actually cheating. When the world thought ROPS was cheating, what did FACEIT do? They had him come in and play in front of them. The reason why these guys haven't been banned is because we can see their demos. We see their mistakes and misplays, as well as their lucky shots. And why are we basing our banning decisions off media figures? There's a reason they're in media, not playing. Bad take, Loba. This user has a fun way to introduce new content to CS2. Add in tear gas. This gas would be transparent but noticeable, and it would damage you slowly over time, even after you stepped out of it. This could actually be a good idea, if it wasn't already in the game. We already have a grenade that fulfills this exact role, the incendiary grenade. Both grenades partially obstruct vision, and both grenades do damage when you step in them. What this user is actually asking for is a buff to incendiary grenades by making them do damage to you after you've left them. This is just a bad idea. Get ready for a scorching hot take here. This user says CS2 is unplayable because it has become entirely luck-based and the skill gap has shrunk so much that FACEIT 4s can stomp level 10s. He also shows a tweet saying that you can't practice the game and instead just play for lucky games. Wow. I'm not even sure if I'm playing the same game as this guy. Sure, headshots seem easier to get in this game, but that also benefits players who have good mechanics, aka players who put in the work and train. Despite what he says, there is still a massive skill gap, and the more time you practice, the better you will become. I partially agree with this tweet he put in. You can't practice the randomness, but that's why we play the game. We don't want the rounds to play exactly the same every time, or we get stale really fast. We want the clutches and the cool shots, but those don't happen because of luck. They happen because you've mastered the fundamentals of the game. What this user is really complaining about is that the game is played faster than he likes now, and he can't keep up with the changes. Here we have a bell curve meme of how the Counter-Strike player base thinks of aiming, and I have to say, I completely agree with it. I think if you're thinking too much about your aim and practicing your spray control, you're making a massive mistake. If you're taking more than a couple shots to kill someone, you need to work on your crosshair placement and movement, not your spray control. Aim has and always will boil down to just clicking heads. Good take, OP. Another spicy take coming up. This user wants Russians to be locked on their own server because they are cheaters and won't speak English. Now, I have to preface this by saying I play in NA and I don't deal with Russians, but I still run into language problems with either French Canadians or South Americans sometimes. I think region locking is a bad idea and matchmaking should be entirely based on rank and ping. Sometimes you'll get bad or toxic teammates, but that's just the nature of playing a team-based game. The reason China has their own servers is not because they're more toxic, because their government doesn't want them playing with outsiders. On a lighter note, this user says we should change the CT meta by reducing the price of the M4A1S, YOG, Kevlar, and Kit, as well as make the M4A4 a one-shot headshot. Now, I agree that the CT economy could use some help, but I disagree with some of the suggestions. I think the way to improve the CT economy is by buffing their loss bonus, and maybe lowering the price of the kits down to 200. In tactical shooters like Counter-Strike, defenders have an inherent advantage, so you need to give the attackers some ways to balance the scale. I think by having better weapons like the AK nicely balances the scale. This is a good take, but bad execution. Now, in all fairness to the community, I will give a hot take myself so you can roast me. I think ZywOo will overtake Simple as the GOAT by the end of 2024. I think ZywOo will win one, if not both majors this year, and will again be ranked #1 by HLTV. What do you think? Did I miss on any of my takes? Let me know down in the comments below, and tell me if you like this style of video, and I'll make more. Thanks.